Good morning, it's Dr. J from the She Protects YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to talk about serial killers. Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, BTK, the Green River Killer. Why were they so successful, and why did they become serial predators? What made it that people would fall for their lines and their tactics and become their next victim? They studied us, we're going to study them, so that hopefully, if and when you come face to face with a monster or a predator like this, you don't become their next victim. Okay, we're going to start off talking about Ted Bundy. Now, Bundy was active during the 1970s, probably the 1960s as well. The fact is, most of these killers were probably only held for a fraction of their crimes. Most of the things that they did just aren't known about. But Bundy's active years were in the 1970s. He was actually apprehended in 1975, but he escaped twice, in 1977 and in 1978. Ultimately, he was executed in 1989. But why was Ted Bundy so successful at being a serial predator? And if you look at it, let's talk about his tactics. The first thing Bundy has going for him is he's considered to be an attractive male. And he was also a law student or had gone to law school. And, you know, you're picking a profession that is supposed to be a profession to help people in the law. And he must have also been quite intelligent, because you're not going to get through law school if you don't have a good brain between your ears, so to speak. But Bundy's main tactic, why was it, beyond good looks, that he was able to lure young women? So his person of interest and the people that he killed were all young women. And he operated in the Pacific Northwest, Washington State area, through Colorado, down through Florida. He was bi-coastal in his tactics as he evaded authorities. So what made Ted Bundy so successful at what he did? Well, one of the tactics Bundy would use is to pretend that he was incapacitated in some way. So he would act like he had a faked cast on his arm and asking a woman for her help. He would lure them away from whatever crowd towards his car, act like he was incapacitated, and then gets them close to his car, attacks, shoves them in, and away they go, they're toast. So there were some victims who survived Bundy's attack, which ultimately led to his apprehension. But the point of this is, for women out there, is we have to ask ourselves, why is a man who's incapacitated, so he was usually asking them to help him carry something. So why are you asking a young woman to help you carry an object of a heavier object or something like a piece of furniture or something back to your car? Why aren't you asking a guy for help? That's the first thing to ask yourself. So I would just say that beyond not falling for the good looks, and not falling for, he's part of his success was to prey upon finding people who were, wanted to help people, who were good, nice, decent people. And he would prey upon the heartstrings of somebody saying he was not able to do something and, hey, can you help me? But you have to ask yourself, as a woman today, if you're approached by somebody like that, I just am suspect of any strange man who's approaching me, whether they have a cast on or they're acting incapacitated or what have you. I'm a kind person. I want to help out. But what could you do if you want to help this individual and you're going, well, why are they asking me as a young female who can, why aren't they asking some guy with big muscles to help them with their task, right? That's what the first red flag would be. Why are they choosing me to help them? So one thing that you could do here is to say, oh, I'm sorry, I really want to help you. Let me go get my boyfriend. He can help with that. Or you could say, you know what, I've got a medical issue. I can't help, but let me find somebody who can help you. Get yourself back to the crowd, and you can go from there. So you find a man or an individual, some other individual, and say, excuse yourself from the situation with Bundy, and say, I'm sorry, let me go get some help for you. But why you're lured in to go one-on-one with an individual, being taken away from the crowd, getting close to them at all, these are things you do not want to do. So as you're operating throughout life and being exposed to people, think about that. It only takes, the closer somebody gets to you, it's easy for a quick snatch and grab. Do you know that in that cast, you can have things hidden, like a knife, a pipe, something to hit you over the head with, rope to tie you up with, any of those things of that nature. So it's unfortunate in this day and age that we have to worry about those things. But as a female on her own, you've got to ask yourself, if you are being approached by a man, a stranger, what's the reason for that? And sure, in most cases, it could be pure kind intent, but it only takes the one out of a million that isn't pure kind intent, and you're the next victim. So you can never really let that guard down. Always in my opinion, I like to operate through life. I want to help people. That's why I'm doing this channel. I want to help people, but not at the risk of harming myself. So you always have to say, what are your boundaries? And think ahead, and just do not trust any strange individual. So Ted Bundy, good-looking guy, young guy, often flirting around, telling people he's a lawyer and a law student. People are thinking that he's just of no risk at all. And in reality, he was one of the most notorious serial killers in our history. So that's Ted Bundy. I hope we can learn from him and not fall for those tactics. The man that comes to you as a stranger, asking for your help, acting as if they're incapacitated. Help if you can, but do so that's not at a risk for yourself. Don't take yourself away from the crowd. Don't allow yourself to get too close to them or in an isolated situation. John Wayne Gacy, a name that we've all come to know, a notorious serial killer in the United States. His active years were in the 1970s. He was apprehended in 1978 and operated in the Midwest, Chicago area, Iowa area. Gacy was actually executed in 1994. But this guy, there's a reason why he's made this video, because he was the ultimate predator. So we're going to talk about, why is it that people fell for John Wayne Gacy? What made him so successful in luring his victims? Now, Gacy wasn't actually after women. He was actually after young men. And how did he, or what tactics did he use to get these young men? Well, the first thing he would do is he preyed upon, what do these guys want? And two things, work and partying. So he would offer them things like drinks or drugs, like marijuana, things like that, have a good time kind of side of Gacy. On the other side, there was the serious side of, he had a business and he would be a potential employer for them, so offering them work. Both of these things caught the young men's attention, and he was successful in luring them away to private areas. And then, as he described it, if you look at his documentaries, he was looking to decrease their power by getting them in a pair of handcuffs. And he would play the game of putting handcuffs on himself and getting himself out of the handcuffs, and then trying to get them to do the same. Now, at the same time that he was doing this, he was offering them things like drinks and so forth that he had actually put drugs in to incapacitate their judgment. So you've got offering work, but also offering fun and lightening the mood by giving them drinks and things like this, and then drugging them. And once he, as he said, once he got them into the handcuffs, that was it. He had them. This is why Gacy was so successful, because these men trusted and allowed themselves to go one-on-one with a stranger to a strange place, oftentimes to his home. And he had this guise of being no threat or risk at all. Gacy is known, and you'll see the notorious pictures of him in clown makeup and acting as a clown, which was a hobby of his. And so when you see somebody like that, do you think of a clown as a risk? No, it's usually somebody who's having fun, lighthearted, and so forth. He was also considered to be a leader in his community. As we will often see, I'm going to talk about another serial killer today. Again, a leader in their community. But the thing here is the following. Again, you have, of course, this serial killer was going after men, but the point to learn here as women is to look at this and say, let's just break it down. You have somebody who's, again, trying to get you to come with them into an isolated area, one-on-one. This is what we want to avoid. And whether we're being lured for the prospect of potential work, oftentimes with women, it'll be men that are saying, hey, you know, do you want to be in a video? Do you want to be a model? Do you want to be an actress? That kind of thing. I think you've got the right look. Whatever it is that they're going to offer you something, they want to lure you away from the crowd. And then once they have you one-on-one, some form of potential to incapacitate you. Oftentimes, drugging you, that's very common. So that was a tactic for John Wayne Gacy. But he also used the tactic of the handcuffs. How many people fell for that and allowed themselves to at least have one hand in the handcuff? You're giving up your power. It's just not a wise thing to do. So as we're out there in life operating, think about the tactics of John Wayne Gacy. Think about how he was so successful. This man buried his victims under the crawl space of his house. And there were like 30 to 40 some victims. He ran out of space and had to start finding room elsewhere. But think about, how could you be so drawn in to fall for this? And it's, again, you wanting something and they're providing what it is that you want. So you just always have to be suspect in thinking about somebody who's offering you something. Is it legit? And are you putting yourself into a situation where you could be at risk? And anyone who's asking you to isolate yourself and be with them one-on-one, the answer to that is yes. So hopefully, as you go forward in life thinking about this, don't fall for the John Wayne Gacy tactics of, I'm offering you something like work, and don't allow yourself to give up your power in any way, shape, or form. The handcuff trick, too many people fell for it, and too many people died. BTK. Who was he? The guy's name is Dennis Rader. And what does BTK stand for? Bind, torture, and kill. And kill this guy did. He was one of the most notorious serial killers of the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. He was actually apprehended in 2005. And really, because he was quiet for a number of years, they hadn't heard from him, and he kind of came out with more communications. They were able to back end with DNA advancements and technology advancements into catching this guy. We got lucky. Otherwise, he could still be out there today reigning his terror. Instead, he's in jail, rotting away, thankfully. But BTK operated and terrorized the Wichita, Kansas area for decades. And how and why was he so successful? What were his tactics? Now, unlike Gacy and Bundy, who were just very engaging with people and nobody suspected, BTK, it was opposite tactic for him. This guy was the B word, and we'll say boring. He blended. He was boring and he blended, such that he just lived amongst, as a monster and a predator, those people that he was terrorizing. He did have a position of leadership in his church congregation, and nobody suspected that he was up to the tactics that he was. Nobody thought he could be BTK. So what did he do, and how did he pick his victims? As I've mentioned in a video prior, that predators can be planned, they can be opportunistic, or they can be a combination of both. BTK was the ultimate planned predator. He talks in his interviews. He's been interviewed by law enforcement, and the investigators that took his information were very skilled at getting a lot of information out of him. He, as they described, just talked and talked and talked and talked because he had nobody to talk to about all of the things that he had done throughout the years. But anyhow, the point of this is, let's talk about his tactics. He was planned. He would set his sights on somebody, and he kind of made him a folder. He called them a project, and he would get his project folder ready for his plan of attack and his kill. He actually describes that the planning was as exhilarating. He got as much, if not more, from the planning of the kill than the actual attack and kill itself. Guy's really screwed up. Yeah. But anyhow, the point of this is that unlike engaging one-on-one with his victim, he would break into people's homes and then take them by surprise and do his bad deeds. So how do you protect yourself from being the victim of somebody like a BTK? Well, I think it lends the support for having a very good home security system. So if you don't have that, making it a priority to get one. Cameras inside, cameras outside, security systems on the windows, enhancing the windows, the doors, the locks, and so forth. Some of which I've covered in some previous videos. The other thing is, if you can be armed or have something to protect yourself, literally in every room of your home. For me, it's a firearm. I remember when I first started training with firearms, and my instructors would talk about their safety plans and how they had a firearm literally in every room of their house. And I remember initially thinking, wow, that's really over the top. Well, I no longer think it's really over the top with all that I know now. So I have a weapon literally within about 10 feet of me anywhere I go in my residence. But whether it's a firearm or whether it's some other form of protection, having multiple items close by so that if somebody did get past your security system, like a BTK, and catches you off guard within your home, you could do something about it. Another tactic or safety security item that I routinely do is when I come home, and I don't have a large residence, but even if I did, you do your own check. I don't want to be surprised if somebody has managed to thwart or get past all the security that I have. I don't want to be surprised. So I do a certain type of check. I'm checking closets, I'm checking under beds, I'm checking, the tight crevices and so forth. I just do a real quick check. It's just a routine that I have so that I don't get surprised. And I say this because one of BTK's victims was his neighbor down the street. He took note of her. He created her as his next project. He broke into her home one day when he decided that he was going to make his move. He broke into her home, hid in her closet, and waited. So she actually came home and had a date, and that date was with her and stayed for a while. And as he describes it, he waited for the guy to leave, and then he did his bad deed and killed the woman. So having your plan of, if you have a good security system that you have confidence in, that's great. But you can take it one step further and have things in each room that you can have as weaponry for yourself or a security item for yourself. You can also do the check that I described. I do a very quick check, looking around and making sure, the space is cleared, so to speak. Takes me a very short amount of time, and then once that's done, then I go about my day and so forth. So anyhow, that would be three effective things to thwart somebody like a BTK. And the other thing that I would say here about some of these serial killers that we're talking about, the one thing that's in common is it's the person that nobody suspects. So as women, you don't want to live paranoid, but you also want to know and not take risks with strangers or even men that maybe being alone and isolated with these individuals. The reason why people become victims of these serial predators, they are serial predators and earn the title of serial because they come across as not being a threat. So as a woman, whether you feel threatened or not, just not putting yourself in a position to be one-on-one in an isolated way or area with these people is the recommendation. The Green River Killer. Who was the Green River Killer? The guy's name is Gary Ridgway. Where is he now? Rotting in jail, thankfully. So the Green River Killer was active in the 1980s and 1990s, and he operated in the Washington state area. He was given the name the Green River Killer because he dumped a lot of his bodies at the Green River. This guy was a very, if you want to call it, successful predator in that he has a large number of victims, as he said, too numerous to count. And what did he do and why was he so effective? So it's hard to say exactly how many victims Gary Ridgway had, but the thoughts were that it's well over 100 individuals. So why was it that he was so able to get women to come with him. Well, his project of choice or person of choice was prostitutes. And so just in their job, prostitutes obviously generally will go with men off to a secluded area and do what they're going to do. And so they put themselves into a vulnerable position. On the other side, you say, well, prostitutes doing what they do as a job, these women have to be pretty astute at reading people. And why is it that this profession of people didn't think that this guy was a bad guy at all? Why is it that so many women, even when they knew that he was out patrolling and killing their own, why is it that so many women would take that ride? Because they're thinking he couldn't be the one, right? Well, it looks as though one of his tactics was to show women a picture of his son. So he would pull out what is a non-threatening object and, something that's going to hopefully put them at ease by showing them a picture of his child. Anyhow, obviously he must have had a very inviting way about him to lure women to get into his car. So there's two things. One, they need the money. They're trying to work. So there's economics and basic need for money and making a living, and he's offering to help there. But two, no amount of money is worth it if somebody thinks they're going to be killed, and yet they would get into his car and allow him to take them to isolated areas, and he would strangle and do terrible things to them and so forth. So we have to ask ourselves again, as women, what can you do? I think the message here, if we look at Bundy, if we look at Gacy, if we look at BTK, and if we look at Gary Ridgway, the thing in common is that nobody suspects them as a threat. They're considered to get that pass. So it's just evidence to the fact that somehow these serial predators are able to get around our basic defense system, because people aren't stupid. They know, and built in is a certain spidey sense, the hair tingling on the back of your neck, listening to your gut. Somehow with these serial predators, the listening to the gut side of things did not work, because they were able to lure people into their car. Ridgway was very effective at getting women to come with him to an isolated area, and then he would do them in. So I guess the message here is we have to ask ourselves as women, whether we have a bad feeling or not, we just have to keep our wits about us about, I don't allow myself to go to an isolated area with a stranger, or for that stranger to get close enough to me to cause me harm. There have been incidences, I didn't mention this particular serial killer in this video, but I'm just going to say it in general, where somebody was on their driveway. This man was driving through a neighborhood, saw the lady, took interest, turned around, stopped his car at the curb, and got out of his car and smile on his face, started engaging with her, walking towards her, and she let him come in and approach, because he was saying that he had a religious pamphlet that he wanted to give her. And as soon as he's handing the pamphlet and in close enough proximity for her to take it from him, he's pulling a gun out with the other hand and taking her captive. She was abducted. She lived to tell about it, which is one of the reasons why he got caught. But the point is, letting any sort of stranger, male or female, because there's predators of both genders, but in particular, we're talking about men here, get close enough to you or allow you to go into an isolated area, luring you through with things of drinks, fun, work, money, flattery, whatever it is. We have to keep our wits about us as women, not let the guard down, so that we can avoid being a victim of a serial predator. Okay, so those are the tactics of 4 notorious serial killers. They studied us in creating us as their prey. We're studying them as predators. It's a wise thing to do, to look at the tactics of successful predators so that you can always keep in the back of your mind that knowledge. We don't want to live paranoid. We want to live aware. So I hope you found that helpful, and thanks very much for watching the video, and we hope to catch you in the next one.